Before I left the Marine Barracks at Fort Mifflin Naval Ammunition Depot for duty as a drill instructor at PI, I got a personal letter that looked really weird. I recognized the handwriting. It looked familiar. I tore it open, was not surprised to read that Pop was still at the Salvation Army in Roxbury. But he claimed in the letter he was not drinking anymore, and he wanted to get together with Jimmy and I for a visit. I called Uncle Connie. He was always my reasonable man for any family matters. He spoke to Aunt Bert and got the Dewey clan permission for Pop to meet us, both Jimmy and I, at his home on Nippon Street in Mount Airy. I was all dressed up in my best Marine green, and Jimmy was wearing his all-star track and field high school letter. Jimmy was a pole vaulter at North Catholic, having won the state championships and got a full scholarship to LaSalle College. I was headed to PI to become a DI. Uncle Connie told me later he convinced the Dewey clan that the meeting should happen because it would show what they had done for us without Pop. Pop arrived at the front door, smilingly, fat and all bloated and red in the face, a fantastic potbelly hanging out front. We hugged politely and he sat tensely, and we talked about us for a while Aunt Bert and Uncle Connie made themselves scarce across the street at my cousin Al's. He promised to stay off the booze, and he promised that we will get together again very soon. Even Jimmy seemed pleased, and I certainly was. It was a Tuesday night. I drove back to my South Philly Marine Barracks in my brand spanking new $200 1941 second-hand white Plymouth convertible with a black top and a gear shift. Life really smelled good. That was Tuesday night, and I was going to be a DI at PI. Friday morning, our grouchy old top sergeant called me into his office with a wag of the finger from the doorway. As I appeared at attention before his desk, he turned his back and sort of sideways handed me a piece of paper. "Close the door, Corporal Little." "Sir." "Yes, sir." "Do you know anyone named Patrick Francis Little?" "Yes, sir. He's my father." "Well, here are orders to pick him up." Handing me a piece of official-looking paper. "Where is he?" "He's in the Philadelphia morgue." I passed out cold. I woke up, looking up at my top sergeant's kind face, looking down at me. He turned into a teary-eyed grandfather. He said, "Take Gallagher with you. Make him drive and promise me that. Will you, Marine?" I promised, Top. Corporal Gallagher, or Gig as we knew him, and I drove up Broad Street to a place where they show up the dead bodies. I was trying to be brave and make a joke out of it. Gig was quiet all the way. We stood in front of a window with a curtain drawn. A voice I didn't know who it belonged to said, "Ready?" I responded, "Yes." The curtain slid open and there lay Pop, all pale, with a blue nose flopped over from death. I passed out again, but Gig caught me. And I almost gagged crying. "That's him. That's my Pop." I cried very, very hard. He died in his sleep the Tuesday night after meeting Jimmy and me. It was a long drive back to Fort Mifflin, thinking, I'm broke. I can't even bury my own father. What can I possibly do? I couldn't ask the Deweys to help me, but I realized I did have one ace, a family funeral connection. On a chance, I called them. It was the other Riley clan from Pottsville who came to my rescue. It wasn't Aunt Seal, she was a Dewey. It was her husband, Ed Riley. It was his family. Long, long ago, my Aunt Josie, my father's youngest sister, was married into the Riley clan, and she died very young. Her husband, his brother, was therefore legally my Uncle B. Riley. Aunt Seal's husband, Aunt Seal's husband's brother B, the family funeral director, was still my uncle, and I called him that all my life. This rendition I just gave you of familial connections proves I'm as Irish as Paddy Pig. His son, also a Riley funeral director, was my hero. He made me laugh through the whole wake and funeral service. He kidded me, but where can we bury him was the first serious question. Anywhere was my answer. He said, Tommy, for Catholics, we need permission for burial on sacred ground. Your dad did not even live in Pottsville for many years, so you have to talk to somebody in Roxborough. Oh, I see. Uncle Connie and I went to see the local Roxborough head Catholic churchman together. He was just a regular priest. He said, I'm sorry, but the bishop will never give permission for burial in a parish cemetery. There is no evidence whatsoever your father was ever in a Catholic church in this parish. I respond, okay then, I'll tell you what, I'm going to bury him someplace Catholic. You dig him up. And for that heroic scam, I needed the Riley clan. They buried him, and to this very day, no one ever attempted to dig him up. Because that was such a very personal favor and heroic act, I have actually been thanking all of the Rileys ever since. And I didn't want to get them in Dutch so I could never tell the story, as they operated in the coal region and they were regular business people. So I never told where Pop is, and I'll never squeal. No wonder I went out of my way to express my love for this family and my appreciation to them for all of these years. And by the way, I also need to say this. Thanks, Pop, for saying goodbye to both me and Jimmy, and for telling us both that you loved us the night you died. It still means a lot to me. I have a cousin who's retired from the CIA as an analyst. He heard me tell this story 2 years ago. You know what I'm holding in my hand? This guy went out of his way to find where Pop's buried. Let me tell you. Patrick Francis Little, from World War II veteran, date of service 8/19/42 to 3/27/45, United States Navy, a pharmacist mate, is buried in St. Patrick's No. 3 Cemetery in Pottsville, Pennsylvania. Here's the evidence. And now, enough of that. I think it's time for some really good laughs. So now that that's done, let's get back to the real stories about my all-time favorite Marine, Sergeant F. Jerome Shea, United States Marine Corps. And we will continue with Chapter 6, A Gathering of Warriors, as soon as I get my